You know, I really believe that. There is nothing in our life today that you can exclude China from the conversation. It's a part of everything.
It is a part of everything because the Chinese believe that they should rule the world. And they're even talking now about ruling the near parts of the solar system, Mars and the moon. So yes, we do got to talk about China when we discuss this because their ambitions are the greatest of any leader in history, Xi Jinping. It
really is scary. And I've seen, you know, who his heroes, Mao, Hitler, Stalin, are the heroes of this guy. And he's just awakened the rest of the world to what a threat China can be under communist rule.
Yeah, when you talk about health, for instance, talk about coronavirus, I mean, the estimates and number of deaths are controversial, but Johns Hopkins says 4.7 million people. I mean, and this is something that Xi Jinping, he deliberately did. We don't know how this thing started, probably a lab leak, but we do know that Xi Jinping lied about contagiousness. He told the world it was not transmissible when he knew that it was highly contagious. And then he pressured other countries to accept arrivals from China without restriction while he was locking down his own country. You put those two things together, and the only explanation is that he wanted to spread this disease beyond China's borders, which means that those 4.7 million people, each one is a murder.
Wow. And it does look like it was purposeful, at least in response, certainly, maybe perhaps even in the original release. But he also went further. He influenced the major organizations. He influenced Lancet. He influenced the World Health Organization. I mean, he was really pushing this narrative that we swallowed, hook, line, and sinker here in America.
Yes, and that really dominated the conversation. And it did, you know, it's like these tipping point things. He was just setting the global narrative until people had enough. And I sort of look at it as the World Health Organization's mission to Wuhan in January and February of this year. Once they issued their report a few months later, people said, oh my gosh, this is not right. You know, you had the World Health Assembly meeting. China said no more investigations on Chinese soil. And then people understood, some of them for the first time, that Beijing was hiding information. And that crystallized views not only in the United States, but elsewhere.
Well, let's walk through a little bit about the original release to the public of information and then China's response to that and what they did in their economy and with our economy, with travel and so forth.
Yeah, well, we know sometime, and this is the unclassified summary of the U.S. Intelligence Committee report, which was released on August 27th. And they said there was an infection around November 2019. If you look at the Harvard Medical School study, though, it looks like doctors in Wuhan knew that there was an infectious disease sometime in August. Other people have said October. That's the Republicans and the House Foreign Affairs Committee. So it's in that time frame that this disease started. And the question is how? Most people, I think, now are coming around to the view that a lab leak is probable.
Intentional or accidental or?
Depends. I think it's an accidental leak. But what's really interesting is the people who are Chinese nationals, when you talk to them, they say it was purposeful, which means that they have a view of their own regime, which is much more of a vicious organization than we do. I think it's accidental, and the reason is they wouldn't have released it to sort of test it out unless they had the vaccine beforehand. And they obviously didn't, because China's 5 vaccines are ineffective, maybe even unsafe. And we're learning more, more and more countries are rejecting the Chinese vaccine if they have access to Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca, which is a real indication that the Chinese were well behind the curve. I think this was an accident.